Coming to you live from Johannesburg. To everyone's surprise, the alien ship didn't come to a stop over Manhattan or Washington or Chicago. It instead coasted to a halt over the 10-point podcasts. I am here at TPP head office, Department of Alien Affairs. My name is Bruce, and what I try to do is engage with the prawn on behalf of TPP and of humans. And here are two of them now. First, he would never have any kind of pornographic activity with any fucking creature. It's Andy.
I knew you'd say that.
I'm mixing things up this week.
Yes, because let's not fuck with this guy. He seems a little sharper, you know. It's Christopher Johnson.
Heyo.
the man who made his name famous in this film. We'll get onto that in a bit, I am sure. We are the 10-Point Podcast. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch us on YouTube, except I don't think there's any video this week. But either way, you can listen to us on YouTube and anywhere that you get podcast-wise. You can always find us. You can also always find us on Facebook and on Twitter as well. 10-Point Podcasts, all letters, no numbers there, just TPP, 10-Point Podcast. And get in touch. We want to hear from you with your recommendations, reviews, requests. Otherwise,
good recommendations.
Good recommendations. People seem to like to recommend bad films for us.
Yeah, what's up for that?
We've had enough of bad films.
I think it's a case of
The latest one is Twilight. Just been recommending Twilight.
Oh, Twilight. I've got another recommendation I'd add to the pot, and now it's very similar, I think, which we'll put in. But yeah, people want to not have to watch films and get us to watch them instead. But anyway, let us know. We want to hear. And yeah, don't be shy to put in something good in there. Anyway, 10pointpodcast.com for everything that you want 10-Point Podcast wise. It's been a week. Andy, you are our serial cinema goer. What have you seen in the last week?
Well, I went and watched Jungle Cruise, which is basically just The Mummy, but with The Rock in it. Except The Rock is in the second one as well, so it kind of defeats the point of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of them random films. I still don't like Emily Blunt. I don't know why you guys love her so much.
Fucking knew that was coming. You're an absolute animal.
she's literally blunt by name and blunt by nature, but still. But yeah, watched that, and then I watched Suicide Squad, which, again, quite enjoyed. Way better than the first one, but nothing spectacular. Banging soundtrack.
Why they just called it Suicide Squad when the first one was called The Suicide Squad? It's like, it seems to be the opposite. Every other film seems to be going, we'll call it Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Like, make it really long. This one seems to be, we'll take the away, and people will definitely know it's a different film.
So is it like a sequel or a kind of half reboot?
It's a straight sequel.
Right.
Okay.
So we had Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad was 5 years ago, and this is now. Then Harley Quinn comes in between.
Yeah.
Is that a prequel to either of them, or does it come after?
No. It literally is chronological order. She is.
Right. Okay.
She's done what she's done in Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot she was in that.
Yeah, which I will probably watch now, since I won't be able to go to the cinema for a couple of days, but I'll probably try and watch that again. I did watch the first one in the last week, and yeah, it's it happens with a lot of films that I rewatch. Is I like them when I see them, then I rewatch it, don't like it so much, then watch it again, and I quite like it. So this must be the fourth time I've watched it where I'm kind of like, it's a bit naff.
Depends on mood you're in.
Exactly, I think it does, yeah. And Andy and I have discussed several times in the past how rubbish Enchantress is in Suicide Squad, and might be the reason it is so bad.
Yep.
I think is the whole villain side of it.
Just make the Joker the bad guy, it would have worked.
Yeah, exactly. But that's literally the only film I've watched this week. Chris, what have you seen in the last week?
Yeah, well, I was forced to watch the Dora Explorer movie
Forced.
by the girls.
Forced.
I was.
Yeah, forced.
You were watching that for
well,
Michael
I didn't
Pena.
have to sit in the living room and watch it, but yeah, I sat and watched it. It's utter pish. Apart from it's got our TPP favourite Michael Pena in it.
Did he?
That was the only good thing.
Did he tell a story in it?
He does actually.
He did tell a little story.
He does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not.
Do you know what? I'm contemplating putting it on the list just so you can actually have it. The Michael Pena award.
It's funny, my only experience of Dora the Explorer is I was in Cardiff once, and we had like a gap between like going for food and waiting for some people to finish what they were doing, and that was the only film on at the cinema. So I decided to go for a nap while the other half went and watched it instead, and she absolutely loves it. Like, she actually loved that film, And then I kind of rewatched half of it here, and I got halfway through. I was like, nah, fuck this. I'm
Heard
out.
of nap again.
Unfortunately, I got further than halfway. I also watched Palm Springs. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed that film.
My
It
movie
was,
of 2020, I think.
Ah, it's not
It's really
2020.
good.
2021
my,
it came out.
my movie of 2020.
it's just a different take on the Groundhog Day scenario. Like I said, it's got Andy Samberg and the mum from How I Met Your Mother, so it's quite good. It's a lot, I don't know, risque than other Groundhog things. So yeah, it's worth a watch, I think.
It's like it's a spiritual successor. You had Groundhog Day, then you had Edge of Tomorrow, mentioning Emily Blunt again, and then you've now got Palm Springs. They should all be the one universe.
My favourite Groundhog Day type thing at the moment is Happy Death Days. Those films are amazing.
Right, yeah.
They're really good.
I've never heard of that.
I've not
You
seen
should.
any. I've not seen
Check
any of
out.
them, but I'm very much aware of them.
Basically, a person keeps dying, and every time they die, they come back, and they've got to try and stop their own murder.
Fair enough.
That's one of our awkwardly titled sequels, not like Happy Death Day 2U or something. Is the sequel, I think. I could be wrong.
It is a sequel, yep.
Well, at least you know that's the second one. It's got 2 in the title. Is that it? I think
That's it. Yeah, that's all I've watched.
I'm not going to go too deep into mentioning the South Park stuff. We discussed that previously. There's 14 new South Park movies coming, and we're all South Park fans, so we're excited about that. Anyway, on to point number 1 on the podcast. What is the point? And the reason for the podcast this week, the 2009 action sci-fi thriller District 9. Brought to us by TriStar Pictures, which we have seen in the past on episodes such as Starship Troopers, The Running Man, Look Who's Talking, and Idle Hands.
What a collection of films.
Lock Hansen, QED International, and Peter Jackson's production company, Wingnut Films, which I hadn't realised that he's pretty much just made Hobbit and Lord of the Rings things, this King Kong, and in one other film. But this one kind of stands out where it doesn't seem to actually have been involved that much in it. It seems to be...
I think it's just because it was filmed in New Zealand.
Years ago, called Brain Dead. When
no, it's Frighteners.
In Australia. It is fucking awful.
Frighteners as well, that's banging.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, as Andy mentioned, I think TriStar Pictures, we've used them 4 times before, and 3 of them were Andy's movies. So
yeah, TriStar, what pick?
Big fan of what they knock out. District 9, written by Neil Blomkamp and his partner Terry Tatchell, both in the sense of, I believe they're married, either way they are spouses as it were, and also writing partners, so everything that one of them works on, the other does too. The film, based on a short film called Alive in Joburg, was where District 9 came from. Peter Jackson liked it, and I believe I read that Peter Jackson was sad for Neil Blomkamp that he did not get the job of making a Halo movie.
Yeah.
That was practically like a done deal until it all fell through.
And then said, right, here's some money, go make your first feature and make it be a feature-length version of your short film. And then Neil Blomkamp's other big ones after this, Elysium and Chappie, which do feel like they are very similar tone, style. I don't know if they're meant to. I think they're, in some ways, they're in the same universe. I believe there are trends. As I was looking up connections between films, there's references from District 9 in those two. But yeah, it's usually machines, mechanical, and all that sort of stuff involved. The film stars Sharlto Copley, who this was his first, near enough his first acting gig. His first ever acting gig was being in the short film, and he worked so well they gave him the lead role in this film, and it made him an overnight sensation. He went on to be in the A-Team, Elysium, Old Boy, Maleficent, Chappie, and Hardcore Henry. A film.
What film?
So it comes up regularly on the podcast. It does Hardcore Henry, and co-starring is Jason Cope. He was the second name on the credits. To me, Sharlto Copley is the only famous person in it, and even then he's a famous face. I can't remember what his name is when I don't know it. But Jason Cope played Christopher Johnson, but he also played Gray Bradnam, who was the dude that was being interviewed, the main kind of youngish guy who got most regularly interviewed for the documentary. So he was both him and Christopher Johnson. But his famous roles outside District 9, he was in Doomsday before this, which again strikes me as an Andy favourite.
That's good.
Doomsday. That's the one where the end of the world, and it's something to do with Scotland, am I right?
It's in Scotland, yeah.
There we go.
Scotland's the only safe haven. It's like Mad Max, but in Scotland.
And then Jason Colt followed up District 9 with being in Dread, the good one, not the Sylvester Stallone one, and then Chappie. I thought I'd slip that in there. And then Chappie as well. So the two main stars of this were both in Chappie as well. Shockingly, this really struck me. This was 2009 this film was made, or made in 2008, on a budget of $30 million, which to me is a large number, but in terms of movie production, especially this century, 30 million doesn't seem like a huge budget. And it certainly looks better than that. And so it opened in the US to 37 million, so immediately made a profit. Final US gross 115.5, final worldwide $211 million. Massive return on investment, 7 times what his budget was. The film seems to kind of set up District 10.
And it never
District
happens.
10 has been in production since 2009, and I'm like, this film made a ton of money. How have we not had District 10 yet?
I read, I've seen it flash up on Facebook a couple of days ago that it's starting to progress a bit further now, isn't it?
It always starts. Every year it comes out.
Right.
I want to know what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't. I don't feel like it's unfinished. We'll get into this later. I want to do it, but it feels like it does. I'm like, oh right, I want to know what happens after this.
If there's one thing I know, when Christopher Johnson promised something, he never delivers.
Let's see. Forwards. In our new revamped awards section, which I tried to cut down, but I've ended up. Chris has picked an unfortunate film for me to try and cut down here. Awards. District 9 did surprisingly well, but wasn't successful, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. Nominated for 4 Oscars, which might be the highest Oscar nomination count we've had yet. I think Django might be up there, and maybe Fargo, but 4 is still quite high. Best Picture, Editing, Visual Effects, and Adapted Screenplay, nominated for all of them. Lost 2 to The Hurt Locker, 1 to Avatar, and 1 to Precious. Obviously, Visual Effects was Avatar, and Best Picture was the Hurt Locker one. District 9 nominated for 1 MTV Movie Award, nominated for Best Scared Us Shit Performance for Sharlto Copley, other man Vickers. Lost to Amanda Seyfried in Jennifer's Body, which is an underrated. There's a cult following Jennifer's Body. I went to see with Andy in Sheffield. We went to see that film.
Was it? I've never watched it.
Me and Graham in the famous Ibis Hotel, which we'll go any further down. Why it's famous. But yeah, lost their 1 MTV Movie Award nomination. Nominated for 1 Golden Globe, Best Screenplay again. Lost to Up in the Air, which I think is a Meryl Streep movie. She usually wins the award ceremonies. But the film was also nominated for 7 BAFTAs, and it won none of them either. So at the kind of the major award ceremonies, that is 17 awards, maybe 1 less than that, 15 awards, and it won none of them. So screenplay lost to Up in the Air as well. Director lost to Catherine Bigelow. Cinematography lost to The Hurt Locker. Editing lost to Hurt Locker. Sound lost to Hurt Locker. And then production design and visual effects both lost to Avatar. So I think it was just struck with a bad year. I think these popular films came out here. It did win another 31 awards in its history. I did not double check how many of them are. It made a lot of money in Germany because they seem to give out a lot of those awards on IMDb when I check this sort of stuff. But yeah, 30-ish awards it won. On to the film itself. I have a synopsis here, written by Kenneth. He is a newcomer. I do have his email address written next to it because I copy and pasted from where I found it, so I could forward it on if anyone really likes his writing style here. A massive starship bearing a bedraggled alien population, nicknamed the Prawns, appears over Johannesburg, South Africa. Now, years later, the initial welcome by the human population has faded. The refugee camp where the aliens were located has deteriorated into a militarized ghetto called District 9, where they are confined and exploited in squalor. In 2010, the Munitions Corporation Multinational United is contracted to forcibly evict the population with operative Vickers van der Merwe in charge. In this operation, Vickers is exposed to a strange alien chemical and must rely on the help of his only 2 new prawn friends. Chris picked this film. Can you tell us why you picked it?
Well, because we're doing like a theme, and I could think of other films with the theme that I had, so I wanted to get this out of the way so I could start a second theme. And this is the only film that I know has got a proper Christopher Johnson in it.
It's a rarity. It's a rarity that something I watch, film, TV-wise, has somebody I know's full name in it.
Well,
And,
it's almost. Mine's is John Stone. It's
of
just
course.
Johnson, but
Yeah.
it's close enough. And like I said, I think it was last week when we were in the cinema and we were watching it, and he first said Christopher Johnson. Everybody just looked at me and just started laughing. So for the rest of that film, anytime he was mentioned, I just got fucking beamed at by everybody. So
It's a banger.
Andy, I believe you were there on this occasion.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just so funny that he was a prawn. But the nickname, he never stuck though. We never had to kept calling you a prawn. It was like a week fad when we called you the prawn.
Started, to be honest.
Have you seen it since, Andy, or is this like your first revisit since you saw it at the cinema?
I think I've seen it like once randomly, but it wasn't like a proper sit down watch. It was in the background.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I think this might only be my second ever viewing. There's bits of this that I have absolutely no recollection of whatsoever. So I think I may have only ever seen it the once before. We better get on with point number 2, the high points. It's what we think the best bits of the film were. Chris, you picked, so why don't you try and lead off with something or other?
Well, I'm going to start off with the mockumentary style opening, where them sitting there discussing like how the prawns came, and then they're talking to Vicus, and it kind of sneaks in like what he did was terrible, and you're like, oh, what did he do?
Yeah.
See,
and then the way they're talking about him as if he's died.
That's actually my low point, because I hated that bit. Like, both times
really?
I've watched this, I remember watching the cinema going, well, the cunt's dead. Like, he's dead. It's like, spoiler alert. And then
okay.
it does actually pay off, but it does annoy me. Like, you know something's up straight off.
Oh, see, I'm the opposite. I've literally got my first sentence of my high point says, Vicus's first morning in charge, intercut with people talking retrospectively about what happened. Like, oh, considering what happened, and you're like, what happened? Oh, I don't know. He looks like he's a nice guy, and everything seems fine. I like that kind of hook of, something bad's about to happen, but also at the same time, him being the nicest, friendliest guy to absolutely everybody is a good kind of, I don't know, a good cut in between.
It was good because, like you saying, it's blended with the morning that he's going there, and then they keep saying, and then as he was getting his gear and all that, blah blah blah. And then you're like, hey, what is happening? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And they just keep interchanging. Like, the only thing I would say is when he's on the run and it's happening as we're seeing it, they're still just telling you what the only place you could hide was with the prawns, and he could go and see his wife, blah, 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 whatever it was. So I don't know how they would know that. That's the only thing
I do have that as a low point. I'll maybe save that for a bit further. But the other thing on that morning is the other one, which I couldn't remember very clearly, was his replacement guy, his little buddy guy, not being given a bulletproof vest. And I'm like, oh, you're doomed, mate. You're done for. And then that doesn't pay off. He's fine. But there's also that every time they go to another shack to find another prawn, you're like, oh, this is going to be the one that shoots this new guy every single time. So yeah, something bad is going to happen, but then they kind of misdirect you with that guy not having his bulletproof vest on.
Yeah.
Seemed like a bad oversight by the company, like to just we're one short. Oh, I'll just deal with it. Not stay in the car. That would have been the nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Andy, have you got a high point you want to hit?
The shit brilliant special effects.
Right.
Like, they're made to look shit, but they're blended in so well that it's good.
Right,
if you know what I mean. There was only one dodgy bit, and I think I've never seen it before because I watched it on 4K on the Netflix, and it's the robot thing that the prawns have. It looked fucking really god awful.
It looked
but
like
everything
just painted on.
Yeah, but everything else, you wouldn't know that CGI. It was done so well. The prawns are amazing, like genius.
I've got like a couple. It's in a low point. Like, there's a couple of bad, like you just said, bad CGI moments. Like, but the look of the ship.
That ship beats Independence Day ship. That's an iconic scene. That's better than Independence Day's just pizza disc or whatever plate, upside down plate.
Yeah, I think so as well. It looks like I noted that the big spaceship and the one that takes off from under the ground.
Yeah,
they seem to really work hard on them, and they look really, really good. But yeah, your power loader thing was was a bit of a thumbs down. But
it's quite menacing as well. The ship just sitting there above them. You're waiting for it to do something.
Yeah, it was very Independence Day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What's my next high point? Well, my next high point was Vicus and his little replacement guy being friendly and being kind of going around trying to evict people while being nice, and just these really just happy, friendly chaps essentially doing really horrible things. Like, they're taking like parents away from their children. Sometimes they're wrecking people. They're calling in like choppers full of kill squads to come and kill people. This is two this friendly guys with their clipboards walking around. Very nice. It's the first. I don't know, the first hour of the film, maybe a wee bit less, maybe the first 45 minutes when it's full on. You can imagine just the documentary team following them around, what they're doing, and the guys being interviewed is definitely my favourite section of the film. Like I much prefer the documentary bit to it's a full-on action movie now. You're not supposed to think there's cameras following them around. But yeah, that first 40 minutes or so until the shit hits the fan is a massive thumbs up for me. It's a massive high point.
You've already mentioned my next one is the fact that it's not set in America. You mentioned because like they mentioned it themselves in the movie, like it didn't land over Manhattan, New York, blah blah blah. It's over Johannesburg, and it takes you out of like that Hollywood comfort zone because you know all those bits like the back of your hand now because you see them in so many movies.
Yeah, I feel like if this was made 10 years later, London would be in that list of places it wasn't, because I feel like at this point every film was in London now, and if the sequel if first film's in America, the sequel's in London. Always seems to be how it goes.
Yeah,
but like the slum is like apparently it's like an actual slum. Like they used shacks that are obviously vacated and stuff.
But they actually filmed like on scene. What's the word I'm looking for? Like in on location, I guess it would be an actual slum. Yeah. I
can imagine if aliens did visit, this is exactly what would happen to them. They would get dumped into a shack somewhere and fucking beating the shit out of all the time.
And then people
no wonder they haven't visited.
We don't want to step too much on Andy's trigger warning, but yeah, people protesting they should be lit in, they shouldn't be lit in, and keep them out, send them back. It would just be all that, or they would just attack us and we'd all be dead. I feel that's the two options we're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Andy, have you got a
Chris, I like my next high point. Christopher Johnson's son. He's amazing. He's like the smartest little bastard in the world as well.
I've got Vickers getting fucking raging about the kid brackets. So I've got Sam Johnson in brackets hitting him with his sweetie. And he's just getting so mad.
Yeah, take your sweetie.
I know. Like that was obviously after he got sprayed in the face, so that spray must have affected him because he was really calm. Sign here, thank you. He signed it. He slapped it. That counts as a scroll. He signed it. And now nowhere. Get here, you fucking little shit! Fucking smashing him.
He does a dozen F-bombs at this wee boy just for hitting him.
It's one of my favourite scenes in this entire film. Is the wee sweetie bit.
Yeah. It might be my actual. Like, if I was to turn the film on and that's happening, I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm going to sit and watch this.
It's not really. It's more of a question. But do all the prawns have human names? Is there a Bruce or an Andy lurking about there somewhere?
Surely. What was that? There must millions of them. So there must be somewhere. South America, South Africa. There must be a Bruce or one or two down there, I would say. But yeah, I feel like they must have just given them all names. Like surely, like they can understand what they're saying. So like full on, an average South African seems to understand alien language. So surely they could, unless they actually have the same names as us.
Yeah.
That 3 clicks means yes, and 4 clicks means maybe. Like if they could translate that much, they could translate it into actual names. I would think, rather than having. I don't think he'd be like, oh yeah,
Christopher Johnson still works.
I mean, it does give this an extra point, I think.
My alien name has been found out. I need to change my name.
I don't have much in the way of high points, to be honest. My last high point is Vickus in the weapons testing vault thing. I don't want to call it. Just, I think that's essentially that scene might have given Charlton Copley a career. Just his face as he's being made to do this horrible thing, while not wanting to do the horrible thing, and just them wheeling out like, here's a different gun, and all of a sudden there's an actual living prawn for him to shoot. The film kind of very much takes a turn at that point. I guess the previous 5-10 minutes hasn't been great for old Vickus, but once he's like, okay, kill this person, and it's his actual father-in-law that's the other side of the screen telling him to do it. I think that might be the Oscar scene. I don't know, but that's my final high point and probably the best actual.
Mine's kind of links into yours, so I'll jump in. My last high point is the gore and explosions of bodies and stuff like that. It's epic. When somebody gets hit by a gun or something like that, just like poof.
Yeah, an alien gun equals just a disintegration, really, doesn't it? If they get shot.
They're leaving a bit of cleaning after it, though. Yeah, that's like my next high point is the alien weapons are fucking awesome, especially that lightning gun, but just like zap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, something deadly. It does feel like he must have kept when he had his Halo film in mind. It's like, oh, I'm going to do some of these special space weapons and all that.
Yeah.
And they started doing that. So I'm out. It sounds like Andy might be out of high
I'm
points
out.
as well. So Chris,
My last one, it may sound a bit weird, but I like the fact that it's not a happy ending.
Hmm.
Like, you're left feeling sad and sorry for Vickers for the
You're left for a
situation he's
sequel.
been left in. Well, if it ever happens. Because like for years, I'm sitting when every now and again I'll sit there and just think, I wonder what happened to Vickers. Will he ever get to be with Tanya, who, if you looked closely, is pregnant?
Oh, I don't
Ooh.
know.
On the back of her, the mirror, there's sonograms on it, so she was pregnant.
Oh, I didn't clock that. So there we go. I didn't
Chris
know. No wonder
notices
she's,
all this stuff.
You
better
know it's a
keep-
shit when you're a dad.
You better
Chris
keep this
is,
promise
Chris
then
ready
and
for
come
the
back and
quiz
help
later
him.
on, I think.
Oh fuck! I doubt it. That's the only thing I noticed.
If that's the final high point, we better go on to low points then. I'll lead off because I've kind of pretty much hit my first low point, which is it's made out like it's a documentary, but then even before the documentary bit kind of ends, we still see scenes that we wouldn't see. Like they film Christopher Johnson and his buddy making that the thing, the goo in the pot, the pod thing. We see that documentary style before the people even get there, and also they would be making this thing secretly in front of them. And then there's a scene with the wife and the father-in-law where he's like, he's dead. You shouldn't think about him. You can't see the body. And again, that sounds like it's a documentary, but then it pretty much stops after that. And it turns into an action film. So there's a crossover bit where the first 40 minutes you've been watching is fake, a mockumentary as they call it, and then you don't realize it's turned into an action film. That was kind of a bit weird for me. I didn't enjoy that one. Switching over, and like I said, I didn't enjoy the second half of the film as much as the first half.
So do you think if it was all mockumentary, they just used this hidden cameras that were dotted about, it would be better?
Well, that's hard. It would have to be a very different film. But then the film that Andy recommended to me last year, that Spree film, which is all cameras in situ around about taxis and buildings and all that, I really liked that and I enjoyed the style of that. But because what District 9 is trying to do, it'd be very hard. Like, because imagine the last third of the film would all just be security cameras.
You see a
Like,
couple of
not a great watch.
explosions.
It'd have to be a bit more like Cloverfield, where it'd have to be another character who's carrying a camera around the whole time filming it.
That makes sense.
But yeah, it's to me it becomes a bit more average after the halfway point because it's just a blockbuster now.
See, I thought both first and second half were about 20 minutes too long, each of them.
It does drag on at the end. Like I feel like, the film's about to end now, and it's like, oh no, there's another 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, my first one, it's the scene where Andy touched on the gore, but it's the scene where he starts to take his nails off, and he's just biting them and pulls them off. Gives me the book every time, and then like his teeth just fall out. That's like my nightmare.
Well, it happens to me quite regularly.
Don't eat a cookie.
The fingernail one's literally what I've got next as well as my second one, which is the first one coming off. I'm like, and then I guess he's still a bit possessed by being a bit prawny, where he seems to actually want to rip the second one off. Like, if I take my first fingernail and it comes off in my hand, the last thing I'm doing is playing with any more of them. I'm like, I'm not touching this hand again.
I'm not. I watched the film and then I fell asleep, and then I had a nightmare that my front tooth snapped off. I woke up in a panic, just like playing my teeth with my tongue, going, nope, it's still there. Fucking hell. It freaks me out. I hate, like, I've got a thing about teeth.
What about you, Andy? What's your next one?
I'm so busy looking at Chris playing with his teeth. My other low point is probably going to be, I don't know, I'm not going to say star power in this film, but it's like when new characters come in, they're not introduced well. Yeah. And it's like, is he meant to be good? Is he meant to be bad? Am I meant to care about him? I do not know.
Alright.
Yeah, like there's essentially, like, I guess it's the main baddie, his father-in-law, really. He's the villain.
Yeah.
But then the guy who's hunting him towards the end with the gun was like, I know you're like a mercenary guy, but I don't know anything about you other than you're a bald guy with a gun.
Whereas if that was like Jason Statham, he's like, oh yeah, he's a badass. I know what he's doing. But this guy was just like, he seemed like he was just doing his job, but then doing it really well. But
bastard, though.
I just did not give a fuck about him. And quite a lot of the characters, other than the main dudes,
has a villain problem.
Like, I cared about the prawns more.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of villains, I've said, like, Vixie's father-in-law, like, he was an absolute prick. Like, you touched it, like, telling his daughter that she's not allowed to go and see her husband, who's only died minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, he's an absolute prick.
It's like as he says, something along the lines of it's probably not. It's for the best that you don't see him. Is literally all he says. That's like the reason. You can't see him. It's probably for the best.
I'm not gonna lie. If anybody that I knew had like a multi-billion-pound weapon inside them, I'm selling them out like that as well. I'll become a bit of a bell end. I'm taking the money and running.
What matches this discussion I've got on my notes is just shallow bad guys, where just the main villain, like from the get-go, you kind of know he's given his son-in-law the promotion pretty much to get him killed, and it's like all he wants is like he's not good enough for my daughter, and then he just becomes full-on. I am just going to do evil for the rest of the film, and everybody else is I'm getting paid to just shoot people, and that's it. That's what the bad guys. That's their storyline is that side. Apart from one Doctor did with the cattle prop, it seems like vindictive arsehole. I'm just going to keep jabbing him. It's like, no, pull the trigger. No, you won't. He just keeps jabbing.
He was loving his job.
Well, yeah, definitely job satisfaction there. My next one is there are some scenes that are really weirdly dubbed, and I guess it might be that they changed the lines slightly, but there are some where they're actually saying the words, but they don't seem to match up right. And it took me out of a couple of scenes where the audio just seemed to really go on it. And
what I noticed was when Vickers is strapped into the thing, and he's getting cattle prodded, and as the doctor walks away, he says something, but his mouth doesn't move.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the first one I noticed.
Yeah, I think there was definitely one involving the wife, who I might as well hit now. She was pretty horrific. She didn't have a lot to do, but her acting was subpar compared to everyone else, and I believe she was in like one other film other than this. And like,
she's up there with Gone Girl.
Oh, fucking hell, that's harsh.
But she was comfortably the worst. And in a film where nobody is famous and nobody really had a huge career, she was easily the worst. And yeah, I think the one scene that she was done, they're like, right, we cannot put that in our film, get her in. Seemed to be it. Any more low points?
I think
I'm out.
I've got my usual bit then, a couple of complaints I have towards the end. Or questions more. I still don't understand how nobody found the small ship. So they were aware that this massive ship landed and parked itself. Or not landed, but parked itself. And then they go, and then we noticed that a pod or whatever had detached itself before it got here and it was never seen again. It's like, did you try looking underneath it? Seems to be the first question. Because it was just in the ground. So this thing managed to go down and embed itself in the ground, not far away from where the ship was. And nobody knew that. Like, we never know where it was. So that's my first complaint, that I'm like, I don't know how nobody, like, it disappeared. We won't bother searching the area for it. And my other one was, I still need someone to clarify the chain of events that the prawns went through, which was, we don't actually know why they ever came to Earth.
Nope.
No.
We don't know why they parked above the planet and then just stayed there.
Yep.
So if they'd come to Earth for a reason, they would have come out.
Maybe they ran out of space gas.
Well, that's kind of what we find out. Is alright, the ships ran out of fuel. And then what they find out, that we don't have fuel by never leaving the area that the ship's in. So they never go looking for it. They move down to the ground, and then the guy spends 20 years getting together the tiniest little drip.
Yep.
But he needs alien tech. I was like, well, you've got a giant thing of alien tech that you arrived on. You just
And a ship underneath you.
Yeah, you just could have taken it and then the ship underneath you as well. And then he keeps saying, we can't go back. Or at one point, we can't go back to where we came from. That's why they've come here. So, I thought, right, they're refugees. They've had to leave their planet. And then the end, he just goes back. And I'll be back in 3 years. See you later. And bye, rest of my kind that are on this planet, and the rest of my species. You can all just stay here. Me and my son are popping back to our own planet. It's like,
it's a classic Christopher Johnson move.
Well, look after your kid, That's the best dad moment.
Yeah, that was a big problem. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's got any answers or anything to do with it.
That's exactly how the film is.
But yes, I feel like maybe the prawns aren't the smartest. Because they did say, we wonder if that was the leaders that left on the little pod. It's like, maybe Christopher Johnson is the leader, but I don't know, I mean, he wasn't the brightest.
He just seemed to be like the smartest chemist or something like that, I don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, wait, I've got one more low point.
Good.
Could you just remind me? The ship. Why didn't the government use the SAM turret again? So they used it to shoot down the ship, then the ship retakes off in a tractor beam. Why the fuck weren't they using the SAM turret? Because it quite clearly had another 7 missiles on it.
watched it. Oh, look at that going up there. It's like, I don't bother attacking it.
Why would you not, when the big one starts moving, why would not use it on the big one?
Exactly.
See, get fucker down.
Well, maybe they just wanted everybody away, but still, why shoot it down in the first place?
I mean, you say they want everybody away, which they do, but that massive ship that brought 1 million of them to the planet is leaving with 2 people on it. Like, you're stuck now. There's another 1 million of them still here. Right, we better move on before we get stuck. I've no idea how we're doing time-wise. Point number 4 on the podcast is the stats. I have been keeping track of many for this particular one. Chris did hear a shit. There were 4, but I may have missed them because I was too busy counting how many F-bombs there were in the film. I think it's a record for us for the amount of fucks and its derivative we've had in a film. I counted 121.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. Internet 2 number. One was 137, which might be a bit nearer because I might have missed a couple. Internet also says there was 12 shits, so I may have missed a chunk of them.
And there was an actual shit.
Another number on the internet was 196 F-bombs that there were in this film. Which is a lot, and that's 3 every minute, I think. Or maybe 2 every minute. I don't know. But at one the last quarter of the film, every sentence anyone says has an F in it. And
especially him, because he starts going off the rails. Everything's fucking
and they're
fucking prawn.
They're just running around. It's like they breathe in, and when they breathe out, it's a fuck. I try to watch the film, I keep leaning over, I'm add 2 onto my couch. But yeah, a lot of swears. The same sources tell me there were 2 C-bombs. Andy usually has an ear for this sort of thing.
I didn't see a C-bomb.
I didn't hear anything like that. So they might have been made up, or maybe I don't know if they were in South African, so I really couldn't hear it. I'm not sure. Only the 12 explosions. There weren't too much. They were kind of saved for big moments with explosions, and most alien deaths were also an explosion. Mentioning deaths, there were 19 on screen, plus 50 eggs that all popped in the shack when they
Popcorn.
burned that. So, again, I don't want to be Andy's trigger warning here. I don't know if an unborn egg is a life or not yet, but I'll leave that till later. But also at one stage, when the father-in-law complains at him about the first day on the job, he says there were too many deaths out there, but there were about 3 on screen, I think. So there was also another bunch of them that we didn't see happened. Was there a dead animal in the film?
Oh yeah, there's loads of dead
cows
and stuff.
Yeah, but normally it's like an animal death more than a dead animal, I would say. I mean,
wasn't there a pig that got chucked?
There was a pig. Yes.
Was a pig.
The pig that got chucked at a guy.
So yeah, definitely a dead animal. And there were, at one count, 2.5 million prawns, with a stat I picked up in the film.
Yeah.
1 point something arrived, and 2.5 got relocated to District 10. These aren't stats exactly, but yes, someone peed on camera in this film. There was a green prawn, a prawn peeing green at one point. And yes, a child was also kidnapped because Vickers decided to fly the ship with a man's child still inside.
It wouldn't be one of our movies without a child being involved at some point.
A couple of podcast favourites had to make sure. Did they say the thing in this film? Did they say District 9?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, loads of times.
A minimum of 10 times. I remember it being 9, thinking it'd be funny if it was just 9 times they said District 9. And one more said it, and then I don't think it came up. There was a couple of on-screen graphics in District 9, but it's actual audible District 10. District 9 was 10. And how many Christopher Johnsons were said in the film?
Oh, do you know what? I didn't even count that. I'm going
Just
to say
one full
6.
one, wasn't
There's only 2. The first mention, which must have been when everyone's head snapped around, and then later on they mentioned Christopher Johnson. Yeah, a few Christophers, and he even dropped a Chris in there at one point as well. That's when they successfully got the stuff in the lab. But yeah, only 2 full Christopher Johnsons. Chris, what stats have you tracked?
Well, I struggled for other stats here. So the only one I counted was the amount of cat food tins were actually eaten, and there was only 3 actually. Not Christopher Johnson, the first prawn who doesn't say, he puts a thing there and just inhales it, and then Vickers taps some white shit.
He was
out
enjoying
of
his.
Yeah, and then the second one. But there's loads of them like lobbed about, but you don't see them actually eating it.
Actually eating them. Andy, speaking of Vickers scoffing down his tin cap, is that your most pornographic scene? Or
No.
Have you got a different?
First of all, we've got to do an honorary shout out to the he actually did shit himself.
Yeah.
I meant to put that on a high point. Oh, Tyler White, there's a power. I think I'm going to crap myself.
So,
I meant to mention that.
Shout out for that because I stopped counting shits. After shits happened.
Teeth coming out, but no, I don't know. Having shat myself on a surprise party for me, that got to be up there.
But yeah, my favourite pornographic moment was quite hard in this one. This was tough for porn in this one. However, I did manage to find my porn moment in this, and it was literally the big lightning gun. That gun, when he fires it, it just goes poof, and it's just like that was some porn right there. That's a weapon I want.
It's a little peek into Andy's psyche there, I think.
Every time it goes off,
I would be exactly like that. Firing that thing, it'd be fucking jizzworthy, that.
well, you find you out instantly, just follow the trail of jizz everywhere. He's gone this way, boys. Let's get him.
I'm sure it would stop exciting me after the first couple of shots, but
Oh, you'll be fucking dry, wouldn't you?
Moving on, I think we'll leave that there. I want to point 5 is the new 10-point podcast quiz. I've realised I forgot to come up with a pun-worthy name for the quiz, so we'll call it Quiz 9. I think will be this week's quiz. Many of my answers have been mentioned already, and the others are very difficult. So this is going to be a very polarising quiz. Who wants to go first? Does anyone want to go first?
I'll go first because I'm shit.
I went first last time, I think. So, on you go.
So Andy's first. Right. Well, I've not got my scoreboard up here. Right. First question for Andy. What year did the alien spaceship arrive?
1984. 2.
Wow. Oh.
2.
I'll give you. Yeah, you changed your mind before you finished saying. So yes, 1982 was the answer.
Yeah, boy.
Scoreboard, right. I've given that one, so I'll be lenient on Chris if he has a dodgy one. Chris, what does MNU stand for?
Oh, fuck. Multinational Union?
Oh, so close. Multinational United is what it's So I could have been easy on you there, but you didn't get all 3. Andy, what did the MNU require from the prawns on their eviction notices?
A scroll. Whatever they call it. Scroll?
I'll give you the accent differential, yes. The scroll.
Scroll.
But yes, they were saying it in their accents, so that's the correct answer. Chris, Vicus gets infected in a prawn's shack. What initially made him suspicious of that particular house?
The computer stuff hanging from the walls, wasn't there?
There was, but that's not what I was looking
Weapons.
for. Not even that either. They were initially suspicious because there was a gang
sign.
Oh,
gang sign. Gang sign.
Ah, fuck.
That's what initially drew him there.
See, I thought weapons, but I was like, no, there's something more specific here. And there's computer parts hanging on the wall. But
that was once he was inside. Initially, it was the gang thing. It's 5 each again here, by the way. So Andy's got 2 and Chris has got none. Andy, next question. What is Vicus's wife called?
Shit.
It has been mentioned on the podcast.
Sarah.
No, unfortunately. Tanya, as Chris says. He was
Tanya.
aware of that one. Well, I'll give you a point for that, but you got it wrong.
Aw.
Still 2-0. Chris,
shenanigans.
to get one back. What food are the prawns extremely fond of?
Oh, cat food.
Cat food, yes. So
Damn
there are
it.
some easy questions in here. It's not all impossible. Andy, in the MNU van, an announcement can be heard reminding us, when dealing with aliens, try to be polite but firm. Remember, a blank is cheaper than a bullet. What is cheaper than a bullet in this particular announcement?
Ball tickles.
Smile. That'll give you
smile.
a smile.
Smile. God damn it.
Smile wasn't much cheaper. Right, Chris, to tie it up. What does the
Shit.
news report say? What does the news report say caused Vicus to become highly contagious?
Having sexual relations with a prawn.
Exactly. Prolonged sexual activity with aliens inside District 9. That means it's 2-2. You've got a question each to go. Andy, how many moons does the prawn's home planet have?
6.
Oh, so close, it was 7.
Damn it.
See, I would have had this if I had his questions.
Oh, that's always the way, isn't it? And Chris, to win it, if you get this right, you win it. Why does the Nigerian gang's boss want Vicus's arm?
Oh, so he can use the weapons.
Can you be more specific?
Well, he wants to eat the arm, so
Right,
it
there we go.
ingests the blood and
That's
stuff.
Correct, I've got so that he can't eat it. So, Chris, in a comeback, it was 2-0. You won 3-2 in the end.
Cheating
Chris is
bastard.
the victor. My tiebreaker this time was, what is the code for the biolab door at the MNU? Which would have been
5664.
The answer was 4225369. That was the code to the door. I'm not sure how I would have scored it, but that was what the tiebreaker question was. So a win for Chris. I can't remember who won last week. Was it Chris again? I think it was Chris. So Chris, maybe.
He was in the tiebreaker. I got closest to the number or whatever
That's
it was.
right.
Jade.
Yes, it was the phone number. There we go. That's a quick and easy one there. Let's move on to point number 6: movies within movies. I keep track of parodies, references, etc. Not the easiest one for me, to be honest. I've got The Fly, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and then I had Elysium and Edge of Tomorrow, but I realised that Elysium afterwards is their actual film, so I'm going to go Elysium. Another thing I track, things that are never not good, something that you find in a film that is never not good when you find it, the South African accent. That is
Yes.
when you find it in the film. Even Blood Diamond, which I do not enjoy, the South African accent is amazing in that. Over to Chris for the movies.
You're going to prove me wrong like you always do, but I'm almost certain there's absolutely nobody that's been seen before.
Confirmed, I could not. I can go all the way down like I do sometimes, but this time, nobody.
Okay, good. And as for putting us into movies, well, it's fairly obvious who Christopher Johnson is. As for you and Andy, I put Andy as the military guy. I think he's called Corbis. The main military guy.
The bald head
really
guy. He's got anger
yeah,
problems. Yeah.
And I see Bruce as Vicus.
I've got me as Vickers too, but I made Andy the Nigerian kind of gangster guy. I thought I could see Andy. I could imagine.
I'm totally doing business.
By his gang.
Trained by somebody who's just like sitting there and doesn't move.
That's the ones you want to be
That's the
worried
worst.
about. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to move. Hey, Andy, what have you got for movies within movies?
Right. So what I'm going to do is take whatever he's called. Keep forgetting how to pronounce his actual name. Main dude.
Vicus.
Vicus.
Come on, Vicus.
Which we take him out and we drop in his character from the A-Team.
As soon as you mentioned him, I was like, it's going to be Howlin' Mad Murdoch.
Because it'd be hilarious. It'd be kind of more of the same, but a bit more crazy and wacky. And I think he'd get on with the prawn a lot more.
I think he'd be blowing up more. I think.
Yeah, and at least he could fly a plane. So
You should take out Christopher Johnson, put me in it, and die instantly. None of this would ever happen. There'd be no little cylinder getting made, and Vicus won't be going off the rails, turning into a prawn.
You'd just be like, oh, sure, District 10. Yeah, I'll head over there now. So
that looks all right. I like that camp.
I'm not to be too angry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me.
We'll stick with Andy for point number 7. It's Andy's trigger warning. Warning to everybody. Andy's trigger warning is happening now.
Right, I've got a couple of quick fire ones here that just get off. So the first one, I know a fair few South Africans. Okay, not one of them is a nice person, and they're all a bit of a bell end. So I just want to know: is there actually there is one? He's kind of okay, and it's the guy that kind of works in the local hotel. He's all right, but still, he can be a bit of a bell end. I don't know if it's just a South African thing, but they all seem to come off as bell ends.
I'm not sure if
I have to agree with you, actually.
Yeah. The guy at cinema, local cinema, he's a bell end. He always asks to, when you got popcorn and a drink, he always wants to see your Cineworld card. He's the only cunt to do it. He's a little annoying South African accent. He's every time. I don't know if it's the accent that makes him come across as a bit of a dick. Because I like the accent, but they do come across
It's
so
an
aggressive.
accent.
Yeah.
Like, they could say something really nice, but it sounds aggressive.
Yeah. And then,
I mean,
so
I do have, sorry, one that jumps out. Just for the sake of finding a nice South African, I'm pretty sure Nelson Mandela is South African. I think that's probably the case.
Okay.
I'm sure she's South African as well.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. She seems like she's quite angry.
I'll change it. A white South African. There's not a nice white South African.
Right. Okay, that's the difference. Okay.
Other quick fire one. Bestiality is ever okay?
No, I don't think it is. But our prawns animals? That's the thing, because they're as much a person as we are.
Well, I'm not condoning this, but everybody wants to make out with a mermaid, and they're technically a beast, aren't they?
Exactly. So this is weird. This is just like prawn. Bruce is right. He's like, they are technically humanoid and they are intelligent. So if they consent, is it okay?
I would say so.
No,
like, we can
I wouldn't do it.
we can communicate with them better than we can animals, because they seem to actually have a
Yeah,
language.
but would you want something stuck in or out of? I don't know. I think no.
I don't. Also, I'm not sure. Like, is there there's one prawn that has a bra on, the one that's peeing against the fence? But this is very kind of a dissociation between male and female. Like I'm not sure. No, that's necessarily a woman prawn. That's a man prawn. So
Yeah. It's alright. We'll go with no. That's okay. And then basically, my last one is we've got to touch on it. Is this film always just hits home with me because I knew about the true story this is based on before I'd watched this film.
Right.
And it's a hard watch when you know like actually what this film is actually really getting into, which is a bunch of white folk kicking a bunch of black folk out and making it a white only zone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it makes this film a hard thing. So my kind of question is, should we have like our own ethnic zones? Should we go back to Britain is just all white folks? The Irish stay over there. Like, would it make the world a better place?
No, we shouldn't do that. No.
So then why is everybody moaning on the news about all these immigrants coming over?
Well, yeah, exactly. Is it blaming the RLNI and all that? Is that R?
Yeah.
But the lifeboats, whatever you call it, blaming them for it. Now, where I thought you were going to go with that was that, like, should the prawns be allowed to just come down and mix, or should we force them in terms of? Like, I think we could keep it in the universe of the film.
Nope.
Obviously, I think all three of us are in favour of people can do whatever they like. I don't want to speak for everybody, but
I don't know.
But yeah, like essentially, it's asylum seekers here. Like these people arrive from another planet. And then, do they want to come and live down here, and do we just let them live down here? I don't know.
But yeah, it's just a hard point because like this, like they're dicking around and they're basically like doing what happened like the 1960s in South Africa, and it's like this is what this film is. And you imagine doing that now. Like I know Donald Trump tried to do it. And it's like
build a wall and all that. Yeah,
build a wall. It's like he's an idiot. I think there should be. Go on.
In defense of them. Most of the prawns are pricks in this film.
Yeah.
Like, well, I was going to say, like, before Vickers gets to that cylinder, Christopher Johnston says, our plan is, I know, I'm going to start just saying I say our plan is nearly complete. Was his plan to do something bad, or was it just to get the prawns back up to the ship?
I would think it would just be to do what he did, essentially, yeah. But it does seem like everybody else is a complete dick that they're on into.
Yeah. So basically, if you're complete dicks, you can segregate them. That's what we're going with.
Yeah, arseholes out. Yeah. Oh, okay, we better move on to our nominations for the Point Awards. Point number 8, what we thought were good things, bad things, and all the different awards for the end of the season. I don't have a hell of a lot, so I'll run through what I have here. I'm definitely going Charlton Copley for Best Actor. I thought he was amazing, and to do it out of nowhere was pretty impressive. Best costume, I've got him with his one prawn hand, because that looked like the most actual, I don't know, physical kind of prosthetics that they had in the film. But him having the one hand, it looked very, very alien. Worst special effects is definitely that scene that Andy's talking about with the alien weapon suit thing. It just looked like they just put like a still of it across the screen. The best death I've gone for the Nigerian gang boss.
So I
shoots like a giant bullet into his head or a canister. Just explodes his head. Is definitely the best way to go. Worst acting. I've got the wife. I didn't actually look up the actress's name, but at some point, reminded to myself in the future, look up her name. She was dreadful. Best special effects. The ships. Both the wee one and the big one. Worst villains, I've gone for every villain because they're all pretty shallow and not particularly interesting. I've got worst father figure as Christopher Johnson because I think
how fucking dare you?
He treats poor little Sam Johnson quite badly at times.
He does. Sam's doing all the work.
To, like, change the little prawn baby's name here because I'm going to get fucking police knocking at my door here who actually listen to this podcast.
But yeah, I think it doesn't treat him in the best of ways.
And he takes sweeties from strangers.
Yes, he does. He's not being told not to do that. Well, he doesn't. He just lobs it right back in his head. But yeah, I think he's a bad father figure. Chris feels like he's going to go different directions, so we'll wait for his nominations. There has to be a best line in there, so I'm taking nominations from you guys. But I've just got Fook written down. But it has to be one of his outbursts must be the best. And the worst plan, whatever the aliens were doing from the absolute get-go, is the worst plan. I don't know what they were doing. But Chris, why don't you give us yours?
Well, I agree with your best actor. I agree with your best death. I disagree with the worst dad thing. Christopher Johnson's the best dad. He looks after that wee boy. Okay, he sends him out as a lookout, but that's what you do with your kids. You send them out to play. Get some peace and quiet.
Talk about there being loads of little kids and he complains, but you only ever see him. He's the only child one you ever see. But,
And like he's showing the man he's showing the wee boy how to do stuff. That's the best dad you can get. Teaching the boy, and then he obviously saves him, takes him up to the mothership, so he saves him. How can he be such a bad dad?
Okay, fair play, Christopher Johnson. Good dad. Let the record show.
And a good dad. Worst plan: spraying some alien shit in your face. That'll work out well for anybody. And best line: Corbus calling Vicus Dickus. I just remind you of that Monty Python thing, Vicus Dickus.
Dickus, yeah.
I can't. There's probably something else, but that's the only one I can think of.
What about you, Andy?
I'm going for worst father figure, Christopher Johnson.
Hey.
Pretty much for the same reasons as Bruce. Plus, he just kind of fucked off and left everybody. He's what a bell-end move. It's like, I've got to get back.
He wasn't father to all of them, though.
He seems like he's the leader, doesn't he?
He is the leader, and he's like, I'll be back in 3 years with his fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. Is he coming back?
13 years later, he's still not back.
I know exactly.
Worst plan is Vicus and Christopher Johnson breaking in, but not having an exit strategy.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. I did say.
So yeah, that was definitely worst plan. Biggest bell end award is his stepdad. He's definitely the biggest bell end. And I had another one. What was my other one? What the fuck is it? What was your categories again?
The ones we mentioned.
Oh, best death. Best death. I've got it. Yeah. Best death is the gravity pig gun. The pig gets flying into the mirror screen. The mirror screen. The pig goes die.
Yeah.
That's my best death.
Yeah, so it's that gravity gun either way, because that's essentially what he kills the Nigerian gang with as well. Lots of nominations there. Lots to cover. On to point 9, moral of the story, what we thought the lessons to be learned from the film District 9 were. Why don't we start with Andy this time? What's your moral of the story?
Don't eat cat food.
Solid. Fair enough. I'll follow mine. Mine's quite a similar direction. South Africans swear a lot. like a lot.
That's not limited to South Africans, unfortunately. Yeah. Mine says, don't touch something that doesn't belong to you.
Again, yeah, that's what it's like, because we had Alien last season. I feel like, why are people just so determined to poke around things that are like aliens? Stay away from it, you're just causing trouble.
Can I just bring up a point? I know people can't see us this week. However, your shirt, every time you bend a right way, it just says cunts.
Does it? It says quint.
I know, but every time you turn it a certain direction or just covering off, it just says cunts.
I'm not doing it intentionally, so it's not.
It's been putting me off this entire episode.
These moves together.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I'll come back to that in a little bit, actually, now that you brought it up. On to point 10, the 10-point rating, where we rate the movie out of 10. Because we have one of us that selected it, I can start with them. So, Chris, you picked it. Why don't you go first?
I think it's a great film. It's a twist on the aliens visiting the Earth kind of movie trope. Like, it's got a bit of a dark humor to it as well. It's got does a great job of making you care for someone that you kind of dislike at the start, but you kind of feel for them towards the end. And the CGI, apart from a couple of little bits, is top notch. Like, so, I'm giving it an 8.
An 8 from Christopher Johnson. I'll go next.
Plus, I'm in the movie as well.
You are in the movie, yeah. Genuinely, I could get an extra point from me because the main Johnson makes a good. As you mentioned in passing, it's a good film for making you think someone is a baddie and turning out they're a goodie. Like, a lot of films use that same style, but I quite like this option. I really like the first half of the film, as I said earlier. There's a split where I don't like the second half quite as much. So it kind of sort of should be like a 5 out of 10 for me, because it just about splits smack dab down the middle. But there's elements to the second half that I still like as well. I like Christopher Johnson, and it's an actual pretty good film. And then you cannot go without mentioning the CGI's. CGI is perfect. So I like it, but I'll limit myself, and I'll say a 6 out of 10 is what I'm going for District 9. Andy?
Pretty much the same as yours, but I'm going to add points and take points away for various reasons. Okay. So it definitely gets a point because Christopher Johnson in it. That's funny.
Yeah, that's one.
So that gets a point, but then it automatically loses 2 points.
Takes it away because there's a Christopher Johnson in it.
No, it loses 2 points on my score because if this film didn't exist, I might have a good Halo film.
Yeah.
So, thinking what could have been and seeing bits of Halo in this film, I was just like, so close yet so far. So it only gets a 5 for me.
5 from Andy. Quick math says I think the official score is a 6 at first look of all that. I believe, yeah, it does. It gets a 6 out of 10, which is a wee bit below what Chris gave it. I feel like Chris liked it way better than average there, but
I like that.
it's his namesake's film. On to themes. Any guesses of what he's going for, Andy? Like it was our names, which you guessed immediately before seeing it.
Does this one still fit into your new theme?
That are coming up with your names in it.
Right. Does it still fit into your other theme?
There is another one. Sorry.
Does it still fit into your other themes?
Hmm?
Does this still fit into your other theme?
Yeah.
All right.
Any guesses?
Accents.
No. Oh, that would have been a good one though.
That was quite vague. I guess funny accent. That's not even what it was. Father and son teams, maybe. I don't know.
Again, that would have been a good one. No.
That's me out.
Okay.
Until next
Because
week.
then my team's going to be shit.
I know Andy did mutants last season. Is it transformations? Something
No.
like that. Right, okay. Any other guesses, Andy?
Nah, I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna spunk my load too early.
Oh, if I say the first one again, then I'm fucked.
I was gonna say, you guessed it before his first film and then after his first film.
Again, I should have put this one at the end so it wasn't as obvious, but because the film that I wanted to do didn't have that theme, I had to move it about.
Okay, on to the next episode then, which is my first selection of season. And I've got a theme coming too. Hopefully you can't guess it from the first film I'll pick out. I am going to the oldest film that we've ever done.
Oh, fuck off. It's gonna be shite.
It's an adventure film. I think it said thriller next to it. It is actually the film that my t-shirt is inspired by, that Andy mentioned. So we're going to 1975 for the movie. You may have heard of it. It's called Jaws. It's got
Are you fucking joking? That was one of my picks. I'm going to have to figure something else out.
Oh, God.
I mentioned to Chris before the podcast that my first film also had one of our names in it, as in the shark is called Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce. That's the reason I picked that film.
There we go. So yeah, this happened last season to me and Andy. We both picked the same film.
Fuck.
It's fucked him right up.
Yes.
Oh, you have. This is not my next pick, but it was going to be the pick after.
I felt like it would be a good summertime film to have when I decided to pick it. Of course, the summertime essentially ended last week for us here. Hopefully the sun comes out and we can enjoy Jaws in the next 7 days. Any further reactions to this episode? Or
there was the beach got shut yesterday because there was a big fucking shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's on the news.
They got eaten, did they?
Nah, fortunately not.
Controversial pick. Okay then. I believe Jaws is on Netflix in the UK, certainly, for those who are listening, so look out for it there. I'll do it for this week then. So you have 7 days to watch Jaws, be it on Netflix or otherwise, and we'll catch you in a week's time on the 10 Point Podcast.